lovely people. Welcome to my virtual couch. Happy Friday to you all. So, we have a really interesting topic today. I am going to have Elliot Omari. Did I say your last name right?
Yeah, you killed it.
Awesome. So, I'm going to have Elliot Omari introduce himself. We are talking about a very important topic about childhood diabetes and mental health. And so, yeah, Elliot, can you introduce yourself and your role and your
Sure.
profession, I should
So,
say?
hello everyone. Happy Friday. My name is Elliot. I'm from London, UK, and I work in diabetes as a health and wellbeing practitioner. So that's basically someone who is a little bit less clinical, however, has quite a lot of sort of psychological sort of input. I do a lot of work with the people I work with, specifically young people under the age of 25 mostly, trying to sort of get them to be a bit more compliant with the diabetes and the health, because we know that when they sort of manage it a little bit better when they're younger, it means that when they're much older, they have less complications. So that's
Mhm.
me.
And I'm really excited about this topic. You know why? Because it is something that I am so unfamiliar with. And we just happened to be talking in conversation and it came up. So I am super excited to learn about it. I'm all ears. I might have a ton more questions. So why don't you kind of tell us about your story first? Because you got into this role because of
Yeah,
a some, you had diabetes. So can you tell us a bit about your personal
yeah, yeah.
journey?
Yeah, so I'm diabetic myself, type one diabetic, and somehow magically, I'm really thankful that I have a job in diabetes. Um, I was diagnosed when I was 18 years old, so I was on the much older side. And difference between type one and type two diabetes, and a lot of people sort of know about it. It's when you don't eat as well and stuff like that. Maybe have a little bit too much sugar, maybe a bit too much oily food, not great lifestyle, and then your body becomes insulin resistant. However, type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease where your body becomes insulin dependent. So it literally needs the insulin to sort of break down the food that you're eating. So I had a situation where I was getting ready to go to university, or as Americans would say, college, and all of a sudden, I started getting all of these really weird symptoms. My lips were always dry. I needed to drink lots of water. I was feeling tired and feeling dizzy. It just wasn't really great at all. Thankfully, I have a bit of an overbearing mum, so she was able to spot all the signs really, really quickly. We were able to go down to the doctor. They did a few tests and they found out, yes, you're diabetic. It was a little bit difficult just because no one in my family has type 1 diabetes. And normally this is something that's sort of passed down, hereditary. However, just like with any autoimmune disease, sometimes you can wake up and then, yeah. So now I work as a health and well-being practitioner within diabetes, which helps me quite a lot because it helps to keep me accountable to myself, but
Mhm.
also helps me sort of work with the young people themselves because many of them are sort of mid to sort of early teens and whatnot. All of a sudden, sort of going about their life, get hospitalized, and are told essentially after every single meal they now have to sort of inject this themselves with some insulin. It's a massive,
Mhm.
massive sort of life change, and they need a lot of support to sort of manage that effectively.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you were diagnosed at 18, right? Which is, you said, a little bit older, on the older side. Were you having symptoms prior to 18 years of age, but didn't recognize it? Because you said you had these symptoms when you're getting ready to go to college. When you
Yeah,
look back on it, were these symptoms happening prior to 18?
I think with hindsight, I could probably say yes.
Mm.
It happened. My diagnosis was actually a few months after my birthday, so it almost definitely there was overlap. I think because just because I wasn't aware, it was really difficult to sort of tell. I just thought, oh, I'm just drinking a little bit more water than usual, or my lips are a little bit more dry. Maybe it's just windy, sort of thing. And obviously, as like a young sort of boy growing up and stuff, it's all about sort of keeping a tough act, powering through and stuff like that, not really showing weakness, asking for help. So I'm sure if I really was to sort of look back, I'd be able to sort of see that, I've been showing these signs for maybe like half a year, but I just hadn't done anything about it till it became something that was really, really difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And I'm particularly interested in this, because I have a child as well. And I think there's a lot of
Mm,
misconceptions about diabetes because you mentioned that nobody in your family had diabetes, which is often a
no.
misconception. Like, I know, like, usually I'm sure just like in the UK is here too, when you go to the doctor, one of the questions that they ask you is, do you have a family history of diabetes, high blood pressure, things like that? But
Always.
there was no indicator because you had no
Always.
family history, right? So, what would you say are the
Yeah.
common, in addition to that, are the common misconceptions about, childhood diabetes?
A lot of the times, so a lot of the times there's a lot of blame placed on parents, especially from coming from
Mhm,
cultural sort of backgrounds like myself, being Ghanaian and all. Like they'll be like, "Oh, where parents not feeding you right, where they letting you have sweets, where you're having all of these energy drinks, all
mhm,
of these things, And I'm sure you can understand as a parent how difficult that must be, and how much almost
mhm,
pressure that must feel that maybe you've done something to sort of contribute. So like I think one thing is that I always tell the patients that I work with is that it's not your fault, it's no one in your family's fault. Sometimes you wake up and it just happens, sort of thing.
mhm.
Other misconceptions is that it can be cured and treated. As much
Okay.
as I'd love for it to sort of be cured, unfortunately it can't.
Mhm.
I think
For
the
type
only
1 or
way
type
I
2,
feel
there's
like
no cure
most
for both, correct? I just want to make
with type
sure.
2 there is a cure.
Okay.
The way it can be cured is through something called remission, and that's when you change your lifestyle, you eat a little bit better, then your body slowly goes back to normal, essentially. Unfortunately,
Okay.
with type 1, once your autoimmune system sort of breaks down your pancreas, there's no real coming back from that unless you have a
Mhm,
pancreas transplant. And even with that, just like with any organ transplant, that's a very long process. There can be difficulties. Your body can reject it, can cause more problems. So it's not something that's often done at all, to be completely honest with you. Um, so yeah, would there be no cure? Again, it's something that's really, really difficult, both for parents and the children themselves, because they now just have to make the change overnight, essentially, and it's really difficult knowing that there's almost nothing that you can really do apart from managing it, which is what I think makes it such a difficult and tough disease to have, both on the person that has it and even the people around them, really.
mhm. Yeah. Wow. How did having diabetes affect your mental health?
At first, I very much was like, oh, it doesn't matter, you know, I'll just inject myself here and there and then just go along with it. I went to college, trying to live my life, enjoy myself, and, just grew up to the man who I am today. And over time, I slowly sort of, as much as I tried to ignore it, it wouldn't let me ignore it, essentially.
Mhm,
I couldn't function as well. I lost a lot of confidence. Um, I can definitely put my hand on my heart and say that there was moments where I probably did feel sort of like quite depressed. And a
mhm,
lot of that I think was based on feelings of anger and resentment. Why do I have to deal
mhm,
with this? Why do I have this? What have I done to deserve this? Knowing I haven't done anything, knowing that like, you know, I'm one of the healthiest people in my friendship groups. How comes that person in my friendship group or that person in my family who eats way worse than me, who does no exercise, has all of these things, but I have them, you know?
mhm,
I would
mhm,
definitely say it had a negative effect on my mental health. But
mhm.
with age comes knowledge, insight, and life experience. And I definitely say that I've slowly turned it from a weakness, from something that used to make me feel really stressed out, to
Yeah.
something that gives me the strength. I remember when I started college, I said I wanted to sort of do something a bit more sporty, a little bit more active, because I hadn't done anything since diagnosis, essentially. So I decided to take up American football. I didn't tell anyone I had diabetes because I wanted to be treated like a normal person, as to say, sort of thing. I did it. I loved it. I did well in it. My team was actually able to win the division they were in. So I have a medal in
Nice.
my room somewhere. I'm very proud of it.
Mhm, yeah.
And I think the reason I did it was because I wanted to almost prove to myself that even with the diabetes, I am still highly capable. And I think having experiences like that really helped empower me and make me go, you know what? Even though I have diabetes, I am not diabetes. I am Elliot before my diabetes.
Which I love because that's something that you can help the children with. So, how do you help your clients and their families cope and manage their diabetes?
A lot of times, I think one of the most helpful things is just for them to engage with me and have a conversation with me. I often work with people close to diagnosis. So this would be children as young as 2, 3, 4, 5, really young, running around, living life, growing up. And it's so hard on the parents because all of a sudden now they have to do all of these things for their child and the whole trajectory has just changed. And I can't emphasize how difficult that would be on a parent. I've had
Mhm.
situations because I run these parents' coffee mornings where we get the parents to come in and we give them a space to sort of speak about the mental health pressures of having the pressures of having children with diabetes, facilitate sort of that space and that conversation. And multiple times I'll have parents sort of come in really worried, really anxious, and then I'll disclose that I have diabetes and I'm 6'4", able to do everything I want to do, done everything. I'm pretty happy and successful with my life. And I think seeing that for them makes them go, oh, you know what? I don't have a broken child. My child is capable. My child will be all right. And I've had conversations like that with parents quite often. So sometimes I feel like I'm just blessed enough to be in a position where I can just be a walking example for them that things can and will be well. But it is a
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
tough road.
Yeah. So, you mentioned being diagnosed at 18, and that was the time you're going to college. And of course, you want to live your life, like your peers are looking at, dealing with like girls in school, right? And you dealing with the major health thing, right? So I can only imagine being younger than 18, say like preteen teen, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't expect them to take their health seriously, right away. So how do you help them deal with like maybe they may be resistant to treatment, right? Like I want to be normal, right? How do you help them in
Mm.
that drastic change when I want to worry about boys and girls and fun stuff, not a health management, right? As a preteen, that's a lot
Yeah.
of responsibility. So
Yeah.
how do you help them deal with that specifically?
That's a great question, and that's mostly the meat of my job. If I'm completely honest with you, is that sort of preteen sort of stage where it's the most difficult. A lot of them are diagnosed when they're like 3 or so, and the parent sort of takes over. But as they get to sort of 12, 13, 14, the parent wants to give them more agency. The parent has to give them more agency because they're growing up, and that's when we have this sort of I call it I'm sure there's a proper name for it, but I just call it the natural cycle of like diabetes or natural growth of diabetes. So normally when on diagnosis, their diabetes control is very, very high. And then as they get older, it comes down, 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 down to a really dangerous point. And it normally stays down here until they're like, honestly, mid 20s, maybe early 20s. And then they sort of realize, look, I'm the only person in control of my health. And then it normally goes up. My job basically is to try, rather than let it go down, at least make it slow it going down or just help it sort of coast essentially. And the way I
Mhm.
do that mostly is by highlighting the issues when ignoring the type 1 diabetes. And those issues are things like taking time off of school because you're unwell, risks to your life because of diabetes ketoacidosis, which is abbreviated to DKA. This is where your blood essentially becomes acidic because there's
Mhm.
just too much sort of glucose in your system that can't be broken down.
Mhm.
There's also massive weight loss. There's having to use the toilet continuously, always feeling tired. All of these very physical, very present things. I sort of highlight that to
Mhm.
them and I go, I completely understand and want to take insulin and not wanting to sort of have technology on yourself and things like that that help you manage
Mhm.
it. However, you also need to live your life. And
Mhm.
you cannot live your life ignoring your diabetes, because your diabetes will essentially force itself into your life. So, for example, I used to have this common thing when I'd go to the cinema and watch the movies with my friends, for example. I'd always have to sit on the edge of the row. I could never sit in the
Okay.
middle and actually get that cinema experience, because I just have to get up and go to the toilet. I always told them about how when I was watching Avengers Endgame, big momentous movie, and I missed that really critical scene when Captain America is able to sort of grab Thor's hammer because I had to go to the loo. All of these moments I've missed out in my life because I decided to ignore my diabetes, and my diabetes forced itself into the forefront. If I
Yeah.
can spend 5-10 minutes in my whole 24 hours looking after my diabetes so I can have a normal time, is way better than ignoring it and having to deal with it basically the whole time I'm awake. But it's difficult, you know. These are young people that don't have much life experience, that are just trying to fit in, just trying to live their life. Having to deal with
Yeah.
something that most adults would struggle with, you know. So there's always a massive, massive part of me that has so much sympathy for them, because I know exactly what that feels like. And I know even at the age of 21, I struggled with that. So how can I ask someone who's 11, 12, 13,
Right.
14, even 15, manage it?
Right.
It's a really, really difficult sort of. There's nothing better than empowering them and giving them the skills that they need to manage it.
Yeah. How do you get your clients? How are they referred to you? Are they doctors or nurses or school?
So normally the doctor, we have a multidisciplinary team that's involved doctors, consultants, dietitians, diabetic specialist nurses, psychologists, health and wellbeing practitioners like myself that can engage outside. We basically create a package and try help them the best we can. We're always in touch with schools as well, try to facilitate that as well. We run lots of groups so that they have opportunities to sort of express themselves, have fun, meet other young people with diabetes, and feel less isolated. We basically just try and enrich them as much as possible, expose them to lots of different things so that it feels less isolating. Because most type 1 diabetic young people won't know another person who has diabetes. I didn't know anyone else who had diabetes until I started working this job, basically.
Yeah, and I'm sure the group aspect helps them to know they're not by themselves, right?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of trying to translate to my own life as a mother, right? So are there things that I should be doing or looking out for, especially when we go to the doctor, right? Because I would assume, I'm not sure, you're the expert, so you educate me, that the way that you can catch it is like at a doctor's appointment. Are there questions that parents should be asking their doctors when they go? Are there ways that how do you, I guess it's a twofold question. And then how can clients advocate for themselves? You know, what would you say?
So, as a mother, I think what you should just keep your eye out on is your child's habit. Um, my mom was able to spot when basically something was wrong with me, and as much as I don't want to give my mom the credit, like I think a mother's intuition is a real thing at the end of the day. If you genuinely believe that there's something wrong with your child, there probably definitely is, and you should push for that. I know that when my mother said that let's go to the doctors, I brushed her off for probably about 2 weeks. I only went to the doctors that day because she went to my high school and then told them I had a dentist appointment, and they let me go. I was annoyed with my mother, but if it wasn't for her,
Mhm.
I probably would have been hospitalized before they found out about it, sort of thing.
Mhm.
With self advocation, I'd say that that's probably one of the best things you can do. Doctors are experts; they know their stuff. However, the only expert in your own body is yourself, and you should
Mhm.
always remember that. And on top of that, I can only speak for how the UK system works, but
Mhm.
I definitely know that the aim of the medical team, the MDT team, the multidisciplinary team, specifically in diabetes, is to empower the patient. we don't want to hold the patient's hand. We want to give them the skills they need to look after themselves, because that
Makes
means less
sense.
work for us, but also it means
Yes.
better outcomes. The same way, for example, if every single person in the world, for example, knew everything about cars, exactly how to sort of fix them if they had any issues, fix the tire, fix the engine, change the oil, and stuff like that. No cars, you'd never see any cars broken down on the streets, sort of thing.
Mhm.
So that's what we want. We want our diabetics, the people that we work with, the clients, the patients that we work with, to be able to sort of see something's going wrong, be like, okay, I'm going to take this step and do this thing and make myself feel better, because we want to empower them. We don't want them to become dependent on us, because that
Mhm.
basically overworks us. The people we really, really want to focus on is the newly diagnosed who one day going about the day sort of normal, then the next day have this massive thing, and we want to prep them. So I think the best thing I could say is work with your team, ask them questions, bug them. They want to be bugged. They want to know that they're leaving you in safe hands, essentially. So ask them questions,
Mhm.
engaging with them, engaging with groups as much as you may not want to. Just haggling is the best way, honestly. That's what I'd really, really say.
That's awesome. I know you are in the UK, but resource to me is resource. So, are there any resources or um, any information that you think will be helpful for the public about this important topic?
Sorry, it cut out a little bit. Any information for the
That's
public?
okay. I can always edit it out. I'm going to ask the question
So
again.
that
That's
would
fine.
be
I know that you are in the UK, but I
yeah.
think, a resource is a resource, which is important no matter where you are. Are there any
Mm-mm.
resources or information that you think will be helpful for the public about this important topic?
Yeah. There is an organization called Diabetes UK. I'm pretty certain they have a US branch. That website is liquid gold for anything diabetes related, both with type 1 and type 2. Has a lot of advocacy there, stuff on there, because as diabetic people, that we are disabled, essentially. So there's a lot of rights that you have and you get given, and it's important that you sort of have those and use those. Sometimes work will try sort of push you out, not give you access to the same stuff, but obviously there is laws to protect you. So again, that links with the self advocacy. Um, it's really difficult, because obviously, like, you'd hope that we live in a world where people are kind and caring and understanding, but a lot of times you do have to stand your ground and say, you know what, I can't do this thing because of this, and it's okay. So what I'd say is that um, read up, get information, keep your eyes on your children, make sure they're doing all right, ask them how they're feeling. And if they're not feeling great, take them to the doctors, take them to the hospital. If the doctors and hospitals say that they're fine, they seem fine to me, honestly, haggle them. At the end of the day, health is wealth. Health is the most important thing. And my mother's basically taught me that mother's intuition is real and very powerful.
Where can people reach you? I am assuming the type of role that you do is more um, organization based. So it's not like anybody can refer to you, right? Like there's a coordinated
Yeah,
care. Yeah, it's got to be.
unfortunately.
But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But how can people reach you? Are you reachable? Or is there another practitioner that may be reachable? I don't know.
So my role is sort of still in the making. It's been highly successful, so they're trying to roll it out to the rest of the country.
Awesome.
I have an Instagram, and I also have an email address that you're more than welcome to sort of ask me questions on. I'm always happy to help. At the end of the day, asking questions and getting knowledgeable is a great thing. So I'd be more than happy to sort of help anyone. I could give my email right now if that's any help.
Yeah, go ahead. And I'm going to put
Yeah.
it in the description box as well.
Perfect. So my email address is Elliot Omari, my name, at outlook.com. So if you
Awesome.
have any questions, worries, concerns, just drop me a message. I'll be sure to reply to you, and hopefully we can get some great outcomes.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, this is very, very helpful. I really appreciate your time. I was really excited by this topic because I like learning about things I know nothing about. So I really appreciate the information. I have learned something as a professional and also personal as well. So thank you very much. I will put your information in the description. Thank you for your time. And guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And thank you so much, Elliot.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And hope to be back here at some point as well to give more information about future things.
Thank you.